never quit. Go with the podium. Go to the podium.
And now they'll exchange and shake hands, both foreign ministers. Indeed. And now, the customary handshake for the formal signing of the Memorandum of Understanding. May I invite the Minister of Tourism, Jamaica. We have the customary handshake between Minister Bartlett and, of course,
the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center, which is inaugurated here in Jamaica at the University of the West Indies, and the collaboration between the University of Nairobi and the University of the West Indies will enable the first satellite center in Africa to be established at the University of Nairobi.
These long-standing fraternal connections between Jamaica and Kenya have undoubtedly helped to inspire and deepen the solidarity between our two countries today. As we move to capitalize on our historically positive relations, the President and I agreed that improving trade in goods and services, increasing investments, and facilitating the movement of people must be central to our strategy. Kenya is recognized among the top 10 fastest growing economies in Africa. That continent will remain in 2019 as the region with the world's fastest growing economies. Like us, Kenya is showing positive macroeconomic results. It is time, therefore, that we look beyond the customary fraternal bonds and seek ways to create real and measurable economic and commercial activity to secure greater prosperity for our countries and peoples. At the multilateral level, we have been collaborating actively within the context of the Commonwealth, the ACP group of states, and at the United Nations. We are particularly appreciative of the strong support that Kenya provided during Jamaica's presidency of the ACP Council last year. And we wish Kenya every success as it now prepares to host the next ACP summit in Nairobi later this year. During our talks today, we emphasize the significance of international cooperation and partnership in the effective implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and of course, critical issues to do with climate change and managing our oceans. Once again, we commend Kenya's leadership in championing these global issues. President Kenyatta, it is both a pleasure and a distinct honor to host you and to engage on these matters in the spirit of friendship and cooperation that has characterized Jamaica-Kenya relations over the last 43 years. I am hopeful that our renewed commitment showcased today will propel Jamaica-Kenya relations to unprecedented heights as we work towards achieving peace and prosperity for the benefit of both our peoples. I thank you. Mr. President, your presence here today and your recent appointment of the very first Kenyan High Commissioner to Jamaica reflects the growing relationship between Jamaica and Kenya. Indeed, this demonstrates to us your deep personal commitment to the Jamaica-Kenya partnership and to developing stronger ties with CARICOM as well. Today, Mr. President, we have engaged in critical discussions on issues of mutual interest to Jamaica and Kenya. The robust dialogue we have just had builds on our fruitful exchanges last year, including at the G7 in Canada, and takes forward our strong desire to increase trade and investment ties and to expand economic and technical cooperation. In so doing, we have agreed that we must now optimize the potential of our historical relations to yield concrete benefits in our cooperation efforts. Here, I emphasize that the Jamaica-Kenya relations are deeply rooted in our historical connection with the African continent, which predates the establishment of diplomatic relations in 1976. It is well documented that our first national hero, the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey, had a significant influence on Jomo Kenyatta, the first Prime Minister of Kenya and later its first president. He is, of course, President Kenyatta's late father. Jomo Kenyatta was an ardent advocate for Kenya's independence and was a student of Garvey's teaching on unification and Pan-Africanism. That experience contributed to his efforts to create and lead a unified Kenya after the country gained independence, as well as his solidarity with other great African leaders pushing for Africa's liberation, unity, and development. In that context, we also recall the late Dudley Thompson as a Jamaican lawyer and Pan-Africanist in East Africa. He was resolute in his staunch defense of Jomo Kenyatta when he was charged with treason by the British colonialist government of the day.
Honorable Prime Minister, as you've said, Kenya and Jamaica share a legacy of strong, cordial, bilateral, and people-to-people relations that have been developed and strengthened over years. Indeed, as you have said, this relationship stems back well before our two countries' respective independence and during the period of struggle, where men like Marcus Garvey were an inspiration to the forefathers of our independence, and men like Dudley Thomas were at the center of the struggle, giving legal counsel to some of those who had been wrongly imprisoned by the colonialists at the time, including my own father. So being here is both, for me, personal, a moment of personal joy, but also one that seeks to reestablish those old links for the betterment of the peoples of our two countries, and in order to increase and deepen that bond or those bonds of friendship that were established those many years ago. Indeed, as the Prime Minister has said, we've had the opportunity to meet on the sidelines of several international meetings, including the G7 summit in Quebec. but also on the margins of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. And at each time, we resolve that we must work even closer for the benefit of our two sister nations. We have also had the opportunity to discuss how we can explore opportunities for cooperation also in tourism and the blue economy sectors, all that hold tremendous potential for wealth and job creation to the benefit of our respective citizens. We've also, again, had the opportunity to discuss our diaspora that contributes greatly to the national development of our two respective countries, but Jamaica definitely, in terms of percentage, has a much higher percentage of its citizens who live and work abroad and who contribute significantly to the growth and development of Jamaica. We said that this is again an area where we can deepen that cooperation and collaboration to see how we can develop policies and programs that can ensure that this diaspora can continue to contribute even more deeply to the social economic development of our two countries. We did indeed affirm, because the Prime Minister was telling me that the Jamaican diaspora is everywhere in almost every country on this earth. So he was wondering about the possibility of whether there is a Jamaican diaspora in Kenya. And I told him that, yes, I can confirm, given the fact that my wife's brother's mother comes from Jamaica. So, and she lives in Kenya and has lived all her life. So, for sure, you are everywhere. And we need to continue to work to see how we can continue to deepen our people-to-people relations as we also take advantage of our diaspora. One sure way of ensuring that we deepen the partnership between our two countries is to encourage greater economic partnership between our two countries, to develop and to deepen trade. We had looked at our numbers and we have seen that this trade is almost non-existent. We need to deepen our economic relations, because it's by so doing that we also take our people-to-people relations to the next level. Kenya today is one of the largest and most diversified economies on the African continent, and it also serves as a hub for logistics, air transport, financial services, ICT innovations. And here again, we encourage Jamaican investors as much as Prime Minister Holness was encouraging Kenyan investors to come together through our respective chambers and to take advantage of the opportunities that our two countries offer for further economic integration of our two countries, ultimately leading also with the signing of the Africa Free Trade Agreement, with the African market also opening up to Jamaica and to other countries in the Caribbean as well. The Prime Minister has also mentioned that we have had the opportunity also this afternoon to deliberate on existing opportunities for cooperation in air transport, especially now that our national carrier, Kenya Airways, has scheduled direct flights from Nairobi to New York. But as we were saying, we would like to see flights flying from the East Coast to the West Coast of Africa and directly to Jamaica and through Jamaica to the rest of the Caribbean as a true way of deepening that partnership.